So I turn this up a bit because this is black. It'd be hard to see. So this is 4 weight. It's worsted. I used a 4mm hook for this, or a G. So you just want to make a slip knot. You can do it any way you like. We'll do it this way this time. So move that out of the way and then move that. Stick your needle in there, or your hook, and pull. So that's another way to do it. You're going to chain 52. That's my 52. You're going to double crochet 50. So that's 52. Right now we have 51 working chains. We're going to double crochet into, we're going to use 50 of those. Well, we're going to use all of them, but because we're doing double, we're not going to go into this first one. We're going to go into this chain right there. So this is 51 working chains. The 52 chain is on your hook. So 51 working chains, but we're going to go into the 50th chain. And we're going to do 50 double crochets. So when you get to the other end, you should have 50 and no more other chains to work. So that's my 50. I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to turn. I'm going to double crochet 2 together twice. So yarn over, go into your first stitch. So that's the one we talked about before. Pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, go into your next stitch, yarn, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and then pull through all 3 of those loops. That's how you double crochet 2 together. So you'll see it written as DC2 tog, which means double crochet 2 together in short form. So we're going to do that again. Yarn over, go into your stitch, pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, go through your next stitch, pull through 2, pull through 3. So now you're going to double crochet 42. So once you come back around, you have 4 stitches left at the end. You're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to yarn over, go into this stitch, pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, go into your next stitch, pull through 2, then pull through 3, and then do that again in these last 2 stitches. So now we've decreased this end, we've decreased this end. Chain 2 and turn your work. And you're going to do it again. So we're going to decrease these first 2. We're going to decrease the next 2. So you get a nice slanted end. Now you're going to double crochet 38. If you've lost a stitch or gained a stitch somewhere, because it happens, and you don't have 38, it's fine. Your banner's going to look perfectly fine as long as you leave 4 stitches at the end for your 2 decreases. It doesn't really matter what you have in between. It's not going to be a huge big deal. So I'm back around to the other end to do my 2 decreases. This looks funny, but all you have to do is turn it over to see that you've got your 2 stitches. Just because we'd already done decreases, that's why it looks funny. But just turn it over a little bit. You'll see your stitches there. Chain 2 and turn. So this round is just going to be simply 1 double crochet in each stitch for 42 stitches. That's what you should have. If you don't, like I said, it's perfectly fine. It's not going to change the way that your banner looks. So 1 double crochet in each stitch. Then you're going to chain 1 and turn. You're not going to chain 2, you're going to chain 1. So I'm at the end. I got my 42 stitches. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn. So for this and this, we were decreasing, but we need to make like a ribbon, right? So now we have to increase, which is why I only wanted you to chain 1. Because in the next 2 stitches, you're going to put 2 double crochets, and I didn't want this chain to have anything to do with it. So 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and then 38 double crochets all the way to the other side, leaving the last 2 stitches. If you don't have 38, that's fine. Leaving the last 2 stitches unworked, and you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, just turn sideways so you can see that you have got 2 stitches left, if it's hard for you to figure out. So you're going to put 2 double crochets in this one, and then 2 double crochets in your last one. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn. So you're going to put 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. Whoops. You're going to double crochet 42. Again, if you don't have 42, just double crochet down until you have 2 stitches left. So I'm all the way back down I got 2 stitches left, so I'm gonna put 2 double crochets in the last 2 stitches, each in the last 2 stitches. So there, you kind of get the idea, you know, just like a ribbon. That's what we're doing. So chain 1 and turn. So we're done making our ribbon parts. Now one end is not going to look as good as the other end for some reason, but you can just stretch that out. I don't know why. It just, one end turns out great, one end turns out not so great. And we do the same thing. So your final row is going to be 1 single crochet all along this one edge. And we're only doing it to match the chain that we did over here. So if we didn't do this, it would kind of look funny. So try to get into this first stitch. So I've come back down. Actually, I had 49 stitches. I'm going to go into this next turning over stitch, and I'm going to do my slip stitch. I'm going to attempt to do a slip stitch. So we want to fasten off with a long tail, because we've got to we're going to be folding it. So we're going to be folding it like that, and then like that, to make it look like a banner. Oops. Evenly, preferably. Leaving enough room to put our letters. But that's what we're going to do. So you need enough to, and I mean, that's only folded over like a ½ inch. It's not much, so you need enough to sew this, or tack it. We're not really like sewing stitch for stitch. Enough to tack that, and then enough to sew it to your wreath. So if that helps with any indication of how much yarn you need. I'm going to try not to take so much this time. I always take a crap ton, and I don't, and it's just a waste. Not that it's a waste. I kind of put it in my scrap yarn, and I always end up using it later to sew stuff. But so before we get started with our folding nonsense, we need to hide this guy. I need to tuck him away. So I'm just going to shove him down through the stitches at the back. You don't need to go far with it, but just watch how you pull it, because you do need to keep that shape. Snip it off. So figure out which one you want your back to be, which one you want your front to be. Not that it really matters. So, probably going to need to pin this in place. So it's going to be like that. So the fold is going to be underneath. So you can either fold it crooked or straight. Because it's on a wreath that's a little bit rounded, I actually did a little bit of a crooked one. If that makes any sense. I don't know how to say that, but it's not going to be even because it's crooked, sideways-ish type. I don't know how to say it, but because it's on a kind of an arched thing, that's what I chose to do. You can do whatever you want. First and foremost, don't take lessons from me, because I suck at sewing. First, I want you to go through this next stitch down here, because you don't want this bump. So pull through this next stitch, so that kind of evens it up a little bit, and then just scooch it. I'm just going to follow my stitches on the top. I'm not sewing anything, I'm just scooching my stitches. So I'm weaving kind of ish. I gotta scooch my yarn down to where I need to sew. So that's gonna be my word for that, is scooching. So once I feel like I'm in the spot that I need to be, I'm just gonna start sewing. Again, I don't sew well, so please don't take lessons from me. And I already want to take this pin out because it's in the way. So I'm going to put a couple of stitches to hold the fold along the top. That's really all you need to do as far as sewing. You don't need to sew all along. We are going to scooch though. So that is like that. We're going to do a lot of scooching. Just because I don't want to cut off and then redo it. And so I'm going to scooch along my stitches. Just like I'm just weaving. All the way over to the other side. Try not to pull. So this end, of course, I'm going to take that out. So I really did a good fold over here. It's about that long. But over on this side, I barely have one because, again, it's going on something that's arched. So when I get over here, I'm probably only going to have one stitch that I can put in to secure that little fold that'll fit. I'm going to put two in just for added measure. So you just want to secure the fold. You don't have to sew all the way down. So now more scooching. So now this end, I want it to be folded over more than the other end. Again, I'm not sewing right now, I'm just scooching. So scooch down to where this is folded. Actually, I'm going to scooch over because I want to sew from this way to this way. Put your stitches in to hold the fold. I don't know if this is how it's done. This is just how I did it. So, no idea. So I'm not a sewer. So, once you've got that done, now we're going to scooch across and we're going to finish that. So that's my banner all done. So now we just have to make the letters. We'll sew the letters on because it's way easier just to go down and up. We'll make the letters, sew the letters on, and then we'll sew it to the wreath. So you can just keep your long piece here. We're not going to do anything with it. We're going to use that to sew to the wreath. So you need to get your white again. We'll start with the letter O. This is where I used a 3.5 millimeter, which is an E hook. Sorry, that was loud. So get your white. So let's make a slip knot. So let's do it another way. So since we're doing it all sorts of different ways in this video. So this one is, you know how you tie a knot? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do, but we're not going to finish the knot. So just take this, cross that over like you're tying a knot, bring that up through the middle, but then just pull both ends. So that's another way to make one. So we're doing the letter O. We'll do, because there's 2 of those. So I'll do the first one with you, and then I'll leave the pattern on the screen like I usually do. So you're going to chain 11. That was a difficult 11. It kept slipping out. I don't work with small hooks all that well. So you're going to slip stitch up here to create a ring. So now in each of these stitches, oh sorry, chain 2. It's small, I know. So we're going to do a 1 double crochet increase. So in the first stitch, do your 1 double crochet. The next stitch gets an increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. You're going to do that all the way around. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets in the same space. So when you get back around, you can slip stitch to the top of that first chain. And that is your letter O. You can fasten off. Easy peasy. So, fasten off with the sewing tail because you're going to need to sew it to the banner. So you can book this if you want, but it's not necessary. It'll lay flat once you sew it. Keep this. I put both of my ends through. I put my straggler through, and I did this. And after I sewed it in a couple of 4 spots or 5 spots, I actually just tied it to the back of the banner instead of trying to weave in or anything. So keep your straggler. So go ahead and make your second O. And then we'll meet back here and we'll do the B. So the B is a little more complicated than the O's. O's are pretty simple. The B's are made with whatever white you're using, and the 3.5, same as the O's. So make a slip knot, and I want you to chain 13. That's my 13. You're going to do 11 double crochets starting in the first stitch that you can get into. I have 12 working chains. So that means if you're doing 11 double crochets, you're going to be leaving 1 unworked at the end. So I've got one more left, and I'm going to put 4 double crochets into this last stitch. All of them in the same space. Working in the round. So if you turn, this is how we were. Turn it sideways. You're going to chain 6. You're going to skip 4. So this is your slip knot right there. You're going to count 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the 5th stitch, 2, 3, 4. And in the 5th stitch, you're going to do a slip stitch. Then you're going to chain 6. You're going to skip 4. So if you pull this over, there's one there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in the 5th stitch, you're going to slip stitch. You're going to chain 2. And you're going to turn. This is what it should look like. Right now, it looks pretty funny. So in these big spaces, you're going to put 10 double crochets. You can just push this down if it's getting crowded. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's my 10 in there. In between, you've got this tiny little space. Might be hard to see. Can you see? Right there, you're going to go into that space and you're going to slip stitch. And then you're going to put 10 double crochets in there. You're not going to chain or anything. You're just going to, it's going to keep it nice and tight. Put 10 double crochets in this next loop. Make sure you pull tight on that. Try to keep everything tight. So then you're just going to do 3 slip stitches. So there's number 1. Second stitch gets a slip stitch. And then one more slip stitch and you can fasten off. With a sewing tail, there you have it. This little straggler guy, he's going to come back here. We're going to use him just like we used the other one. So there you have it. There's your bee. bottom looks funny. So let's sew this on to this guy to fix my bottom. I don't know why it looks like that. I should probably have to put one more slip stitch in there, but I can fix that while I'm sewing. No big deal. So first, take your little straggler guy. Figure out where you're putting it. And then just stick him through to the other side. I just want to make sure you know where you're putting your stuff. Yeah, I might have to move him over to there. Okay, so I got my straggler pulled through in the wrong spot now because I just moved it. So I'm just going to move him over. Because you don't want to see this. I'm just going to go down through the white and out the back. That way you don't see that straggler pull through. So because this isn't sewn to anything yet, it's going to be pretty easy peasy. I'm going to do long stitches in the back. You don't have to sew every inch of this down. And short stitches in the front. You can use fabric glue too to give it an extra hold. Yeah, so I just come up through this, grab this and just pulled it over with a stitch. So, once I come back around to where I started, I've got my straggler there at the back. I am just going to tie a double knot. So I'm not going to tie this first part tight because I don't want to make my bee look funny. But this second knot I'm going to pull really tight so that it's really small. Not that it matters because it's going to be sewn to something. And then just snip that off. So that's my bee. Alright, so let's get this sewn on. So, I put it up pretty high. It doesn't really matter if it overhangs. So I'm not gonna sew this part on. Just gonna sew this part on. And I'm gonna try to stay in the black so that you can't see it. But you can sew on any way you want. But I am going down into the orange. I guess the biggest thing is just to make sure it's center. Even. If you want to tack part of these parts down, you can. I didn't because, I mean, really it's not going to go anywhere. So I just stayed in the black to make my knot because it turns out to be so small. You can't even notice it in the black. And then I just cut off as close as I can. So it is not that noticeable. There we go. So let's move on to the small spider. So you don't need to put googly eyes on. I chose to just for something fun for the kids. These are pipe cleaners. It was very difficult. I made it, I stuffed it, and then I tried to put the pipe cleaners in, and it was very difficult. So I think this time around we're gonna try to do it before it's stuffed. So I don't know. It wasn't that easy, but the the outcome looks fantastic, but this one was even harder to do for some reason. So we'll do the small spider. So I'm still the same 4 weight yarn. I'm going to use my 4mm hook. So make a magic ring. And you're going to put 6 single crochets into the center. You're going to need a stitch marker. You're going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So you can either use a stitch marker here, and if you're going to, put it in after the first stitch, not the second one. I'm just going to count to 12. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So I use my stitch marker here. That's 1 single crochet with the marker. And then your increase is 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet. All the way around, and at the end you should have 18 stitches. So for the next 3 rounds, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches. So I've done my 3 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'm round 6, which is 1 single crochet and a decrease. So it's my 1 single crochet and then my decrease. Go in and grab some yarn and pull through. Go into your next stitch, grab some yarn and pull through, and you got 3 loops. Come through all 3. That's a decrease. So 1 single crochet and a decrease. So you're using 2 stitches for that, for the decrease. 1 single crochet and a decrease. So this brings you back down to 12 stitches. So your next round is going to be to decrease 6 times. So you're just decreasing. There's no single crochets or... So that's number 1. Use your stitch marker because we're not closing it up. We've got to build the head. That's number 1.
Oh, I got caught on something. Let's try this again. Ooh, the gods do not want me to do the second stitch. 2 the hard way. So your stitches are going to start looking funny. Now you got to pull and come way back over here. This is number 3. Four. You gotta really pull it over now. And 2 more. That's my 6.
So it's very, very tiny. Before we start doing the head, you can stick some stuffing in here, but I would suggest that we put our legs on first and foremost. Alright, so I've got pipe cleaner here. You can trim these down later, but fold your pipe cleaner in half and cut it, and then you can just trim your legs down later. So this is where it gets tricky. It's very, very difficult. To get through here. Initially I used a needle and I just pulled the crap out of my other one. That was through the stuffing and everything. So I don't know how well this will work. It's not easy trying to determine where it's going to go either. Yeah, that seemed to be fine. Put it on a needle. So like I said, you can cut your legs down after if you find that they're too long or whatever. Try to keep them even. We're not going to be able to put them all on right now. This one might be a little difficult. So there's 2 anyway, 2 legs on. I'm gonna put a little stuffing in it, and I'm gonna actually maybe put my 3rd. So spiders have 8 legs, but the other ones are up close, like in the neck area of the head. So just be careful how you stuff this. You don't need a whole lot of stuffing in it because it's just going on the it's just going on a wreath. So it's not like you have to stuff it like a doll or anything. I don't know. I might build the neck up a little bit. So we're gonna do a 1 single crochet increase. So we took our doing 6 decreases took us down to 6 stitches. So we're gonna go back up. So that's 1 single crochet and an increase of 2 single crochets in the same stitch and repeat. Oh, I'm trying not to grab the stuffing. Yeah, I guess some legs get in the way a little bit. But I mean, in all honesty, trying to get them through, I had to grab my needle with a pair of pliers and like pull, and my spider was so out of shape from pulling so hard. It was just ridiculous. My fingers were so sore. This is just way easier. I know they're kind of in the way right now, but we're almost done this anyway. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. So there's number 1. It's just a tiny wee little guy. Besides, you can move these legs down and out of your way if you want. I mean, So there's number 1. I can't seem to get into my other, there we go. There's number 2, and then you do your increase. So 2 single crochet and an increase. And repeat. 1, 1, 2. Alright, so you should have 12 stitches. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. That's 12. And now you're going to decrease 6 times. And then we're going to sew his head up. So we're going to have to put the other legs on and then stuff him. So decrease 6 times. That's number 1. You don't really need a stitch marker here because we're not just going to fasten off. Alright, so let's shove some legs through before we stuff him. So again, make sure you're going in and out in the same spots. And then you're going to do the right in the neck area. And that one was going to be a little tough. It's not actually quite where I want my spider to be, or my leg to be. Let's try this again. Not that I want to, but I don't feel that that's in the right spot. Sorry, my battery died, or my camera shut off. I'm just putting it right into the neck, which is what I said I was going to do in the first place, and then I ended up getting it too high. So, you might as well get it right the first time. So you're going to have to even your legs out. I stretched my head out of shape a little bit. So put a little bit of stuffing in there because we're going to close this up. We don't need the stitch marker. So I'm just going to go into this next stitch and I'm going to fasten off. So you need a little bit of a sewing tail, not huge. We're just sewing the head shut, and then do some weaving just for added security. Got all kinds of needles sitting around here because I didn't need to grab for this one. So, I know this is hard to see, but you're only going to come in and grab one piece of thread. You don't need both of them. You're going to go in and then go out. Just like that. And then pull. You don't have to pull tight right now. So just under one piece of yarn, go in and then go out. One more time. Go in, go in, and then go out. You're right at your knot, so that's kind of hard to. So pull it shut, nice and tight. It doesn't really matter what his face looks like because it is supposed to be a spooky spider. So this is so hard to show you on here because it's of the color black, but I'm just going to come across. So this is where your lead is. I'm just going to come across to the other side because I just want to make a knot. So I just want to make a tiny knot, pull it back and forth a couple of times. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to weave. So I'm just going to pop out wherever I pop out. Now pull that so it kind of flattens the top of his head so we can put the googly eyes on. And then go down as close as you can to your lead, just so it looks like a stitch. And you're just going to pop out in another place. Oh, I don't want to pop out the leg. So weaving a couple times is probably fine. So I'm down here. If this is going to be your bottom, keep this down here so you can sew them on. So this is where we can straighten his legs, and you can cut off some if you want. So I just take it and I just did that. So I just folded it over my fingers and squeezed. That's how I made the shape of the legs. That's how I did the legs anyway, but you can figure out how to bend them yourself, whatever. It's just a suggestion. So I'm gonna go get my googly eyes. So I've got a whole pile of googly eyes. I'm just using this to glue it to my guy because I don't have ones that have sticky backs. I have to glue them. But I got all of these guys at the dollar store. All these googly eyes, and different colored googly eyes. And then these tiny little googly eyes I got at the dollar store. And these tiny little ones are what's going on this spider. I did bigger ones for these little ones go on the spider and the ghost. And then I did bigger ones for the Black Widow. So this doesn't take long to dry. And we can move on and build something while it's drying. So I just figured where I was going to put my eyes. I put a couple of globs. This is clear, so it doesn't really matter if you push it down and it spreads out. And that's all I did. So, that eye's gonna be a little, there we go. My googly eyes. So I'm just gonna set him aside and I'm gonna set him up like this so his eyes dry. Alright, let's start with a magic ring. We're going to put 6 double crochets into this magic ring. I don't want you to chain 2 before starting this, because I want to use all of what I'm putting in here. So the chain 1 is perfectly fine. going to put 2 double crochets into each stitch around. So you can use a stitch marker. I'm just going to count to 12. Your next round is going to be 1 double crochet and an increase. You'll have to use your stitch marker. That's 1 double crochet, and then your next stitch gets 2 double crochets in the same space. And repeat. So because we're building this one with a double crochet, it's going to have a different shape to it, first of all, which is what I wanted. Secondly, you're going to really have to watch how much stuffing you actually put into this, because you're going to be able to see the white through better. Well, I don't know if better is the word. You don't want to see the white through the stuffing, through the thing. But I am still using a small hook, so you should have 18 stitches at this point, and you're going to put 1 double crochet in each of those 18 stitches. So now we're going to start to decrease now. And we're going to do a 1 double crochet decrease. So that's my 1. And then a double crochet decrease. Do you like the point I put on there? Nice, huh? Love it. Anyway, double crochet decrease. So you're going to yarn over. You're going to go into your first stitch. You're going to pull through 2 and stop. You're going to yarn over, go into your next stitch, pull through 2, and then pull through all 3. That's how you do a double crochet decrease. So 1 double crochet and then a decrease. So now you're going to decrease 6 times. Alright, looks like a little hand grenade. Let's put some legs in. So we're going to do the same thing. Take your 4 pieces. I don't know if I can cut through all 4 of these, but I'm going to try. Fold them in half. Oh yeah, I can. You can trim them down later. I actually didn't do any trimming on mine. So this should be easier to pull through because it is a double crochet. So wherever you start with your first one, so try to go in roughly around. You can spread these out better. I'm just trying to get anywhere there's a large space to go through. Right in between my double crochets. So I did find this one harder to line up. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of how big it is or... Oh, I gotta pull on my... That's that piece I pulled out, I think, before. So you're gonna have one leg that's got a mark because of from the needle, but no one's gonna notice that. I might have to cut this leg down. It seems long. So I feel like the only legs I have to really cut are these 2 back ones here. They seem longer than everything else for some reason. So let's put some stuffing in before I put a head on this. So we're going to increase, so just like before. I'm going to flatten all of his legs out. So we're going to do a 1 double crochet increase. Sorry, I was talking with this in my mouth. That's 1 double crochet, and then your next stitch gets an increase of 2 double crochets in that same space. Double crochet, two double crochet, one double crochet, 2 double crochet. So you should have 9 stitches. And you're going to put 1 double crochet in each of those 9 stitches for your next round. I'm just going to count to 9. So you can put more stuffing in it right now if you want to. The next round is going to be decrease 4 times, then we're going to sew the head up. So we're all done this guy. Again, don't overstuff because you're going to see the white. You know what? I'm not even gonna, because I know I'm going to see the white. So you're going to do 4 decreases. If you didn't want to add this other row because you think his head is big enough, You could have just sewed up his head. You didn't have to do this part because, I mean, really, it's only 9 stitches. It would have looked fine. I can't even find the opening. I cannot see black very well when I work with it. I cannot see it at all much. Very difficult for me to work with. So, just sewing up 4 stitches, so in and out a couple of times. Pull tight. Come across. Make a knot. Pull tight. And then I'm going to go down and weave. I'm going to come out his back. Oh, I almost lost it. And then I'm going to really pull back on his head. That gives him a better looking melon. And it kind of pulls up on his head too. A bit. I'm just going to bring this down underneath him so I can sew with him later. I'm going to have to let his head dry. So, his legs are all screwed up. So his legs were a little harder to shape. And quite frankly, I think this one is too long. So I'm going to cut that off there. And there. Oh yeah, I did bigger eyes for this guy, didn't I? Oh, let's do the red thing on his back and then we'll put his eyes on. I put this size on. That's what we'll put on. So, you're going to need some red. So, the last one I did, let me get it. I used a 4-weight Red Heart yarn, just a regular one. I think it's big, which is fine. It's kind of an exaggerated, you know, Black Widow. I'm going to use a 4mm, but I'm going to use this, this is a 3-weight cotton. It's way thinner, and I just think it might be better to work with, so we are going to make a slip knot and chain 5. So if you're not sure, slip knots can be, let me move him so you can see this better. Slip knots can be tricky, but just take your yarn, have your straggler over here, and just pretend you're making a knot. So cross them, and then bring this up through, and then pull on your straggler and your lead. That's one way. So chain 5. You have 4 working chains because your 5th one is still on your hook. So you're gonna single crochet 4. You're going to chain 1 and you're going to turn. So this is going to seem weird since we just started, but now I want you to single crochet these two. You should have 4 stitches. These 2 together and these 2 together. So you're going to go in and grab some yarn and pull through and stop. Go into your next stitch, grab some yarn and stop, And then you're going to pull through all 3. And you're going to do the same with these last 2 stitches. So this one's difficult because it likes to turn itself over. So it can be kind of a pain in the bum. Chain 1 and turn. You should have 2 stitches. I want you to put a single crochet in each of those 2 stitches. Chain 1 and turn. Now you're going to put 2 double crochet. You have 2 stitches still. So now you're going to put 2 double crochets in this stitch. 2 single crochets in this stitch. 2 single crochets in that stitch. Always read my word prompts. Don't listen to me speak, because man do I screw up a lot. So we're increasing now. Chain 1 and turn. And now you're going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 4 stitches. So that's your hourglass. You can fasten off with a sewing tail. I'm going to sew it to the spider. So if you used a Red Heart 4-weight like I did with my other one, it's fine. It's just going to be, actually I like that better. This one seems to have, the holes seem to be a little too big. But I thought I would try it just to see what it turned out like. I'm just going to stick this straggler somewhere. So make sure you're sewing it to the top. I just stayed in the red. When I sewed, I went down into the red and I came up into the red. So it only takes a couple of stitches anyway. It's not like you're doing a whole bunch to sew this little thing on. It's tiny, but just try to stay in the red, because you don't want to see this on the sides or anything. I'll pull too hard and get this out of shape. And again, like I said, you don't need this. You don't need to make this a Black Widow. I just chose to make it a Black Widow since I was doing a bigger spider, and I thought, hey, you know, what the heck? Let's make it a Black Widow while I'm at it. It's kind of a last moment idea. Well, I didn't get that sewn on very good. I have to come down over. And mine is all out of shape, but my other one was too. I don't sew well. So, but again, it's going to be hanging on a wreath. It's not even going to be like someone's going to be inspecting it. So once you're done, you can just pull through to the other side, make a knot. It doesn't have to be a tight knot or even a small knot. It just needs to be a knot, something that's going to get lodged into the stuffing. And keep a little bit of a tail, because if you cut it too close to the knot, then it will undo itself. And then just jam it down into the stuffing like that. And he's all done. Probably gonna have to fix his legs a million times till you get it on the wreath. So we're gonna do the same thing that we did with the other one. Find out where you want your eyeballs. Take a gob or two. Excuse me, I have a cold. I have such a bad cold. So, again, I exaggerated the googly eyes just because it's fun, and I can. So, that's my Black Widow. I'm going to set him aside and let him dry.